Hi everyone, it's Mike and Sandra here from the E QIP team, and we're going to go ahead and get started with the webinar. We're going to talk about E QIP and how we're here to support you in quality improvement. So first of all, thank you very much for being here with us. I know it takes time out of your busy day, but we really appreciate it, and hopefully it'll be worthwhile for you. And we're really excited that you're here because this is really, I think, our official launch of the different offerings at E QIP and what that's going to mean for all the folks in the sector and what you can tap into. So we're really excited about this, and hopefully you will be too. Before we get started, I wanted to go through some housekeeping items with you. First of all, everyone's line is on mute except for ours. So you can go ahead and say stuff about us and we won't hear you. And if you have questions throughout the presentation, if you could type it in the question box, which you'll see on the GoToWebinar menu, and that way we can monitor those and we'll answer all the questions at the end of the presentation. You'll also notice too on the GoToWebinar menu box there's a handout section, so if you click on that you can actually download a copy of our slides that we're using today. And lastly, we're going to record today's presentation, and we're going to share that on our website and on our community of practice later on, so that if people miss it, they can still get a chance to view it on there, and we'll share that location with you afterwards. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Today we're going to cover a few things. The first is going to be just a brief overview of E QIP for folks who may not be familiar with us. And we're going to talk a little bit about what we heard during our regional consultations and our surveys that you probably were part of earlier this year. And we're going to detail the various E QIP offerings and supports that we're going to be providing. And we're going to talk about our next steps and how you can get involved and take advantage of some of these offerings. And of course we're going to leave time at the end for questions because we want to hear from you. So we'll start with a brief overview of E QIP. As you likely know by now, the E QIP project is an 18-month partnership between CMHA Ontario, Addictions Mental Health Ontario, and Health Quality Ontario. And it's the first of its kind in community mental health. And really our objective is to help support and further cultivate a culture and environment of quality improvement, and building on what folks are already doing. So helping to support you in your work to further build capacity and the culture of continuous quality improvement so that we can be the best that we can be as mental health and addiction providers. So our mission as the E QIP project, again, is really all about supporting you. And we're going to do that by helping to increase the understanding of quality in mental health and addictions care and work towards improvement in key domains of quality. So things like access to care, client satisfaction, and equity. We're going to increase sector-wide QI learning and mentorship, and we'll talk a lot about that today. And we want to highlight promising quality improvement practices. You know, the awesome work that folks are doing in the field every day to improve the quality of care. We want to highlight that and communicate that and share that with others, both within the sector and outside. And of course, help build readiness for the Excellent Care for All Act, which we know is coming to us. So I'm just going to pass it over to Sandra, and she'll take you through what we heard.
Hi everybody, thanks again for joining us. So we've wrapped up kind of the initial part of our work in terms of our first phase of engagement, but we recognize that engagement is an ongoing process. We've completed our survey, our key informant interviews, and our visit to 7 regions across the province. We really want to thank everyone who hosted us, as well as those who participated and shared with us what they're doing. One of the key things we asked our members and our branches is, how do you actually define quality? And we were completely, for lack of a better word, blown away by the thoughtfulness of your responses. We really saw and heard from you, both in terms of the discussion and the piece of work that you were doing, that satisfaction was a big piece. Not just satisfaction for clients, but satisfaction for staff as well. And really you talked a lot about balancing standards, and the need to have standards yet evolving and being dynamic. And so looking at outcomes and looking at evidence, but also being very aware of process. So a lot of great thinking has gone on and is going on around what quality means to you. We've talked about what we found and what we heard in the newsletter that was sent out last week for eQuip News. So if there's any more you'd like to see about this, please feel free to have a look. The other things that we heard really is, again, as Mike said, your interest and your dedication and understanding of QI, and that everybody is doing something. There's something that you're attending to, whether you think it's QI, sometimes you're not, around improving the work that you're doing. And there's a lot of expertise out there in the field. And Mike will be talking about our coaching work coming up, and we'll be relying a lot on that expertise. And you were very clear to remind us, please very much pay attention to French language services and work with our First Nations communities and partners. We also heard that things need to stop. There are things that are kind of sometimes getting in the way or taking a lot of time, and we need to really think about those and make sure that we're doing things that align. And of course the need for resources, and that's what we're really trying to address with the project. A really important thing that we'll be continuing to follow up on, and we've been speaking with our advisory group, and we'll talk about that in a minute, is how do we ensure that we're engaging families and persons with lived experience. And from the field we heard that you're doing great things all the way from getting feedback through surveys and through focus groups to actually having people sitting on governance and quality committees and being incredibly involved in co-design and co-construction, and of course our consumer run and led organizations. So there are a lot of initiatives and a lot of avenues around QI in the field that are engaging our families and persons with lived experience. One of the things that's really important as we move forward with eQuip, and as we kind of put our offerings on the ground in terms of our readiness and being able to support and meet organizations where they're at in terms of their QI, is understanding where people are at in terms of key elements that we know that are critical for quality improvement, both in terms of implementing quality activities and sustaining them. And this is just a snapshot of what we heard from the field in terms of key elements and where people are at. So we know that a big piece for folks is the dedicated time for QI. We heard a lot that sometimes this is happening off the side of the desk. Even though there's a real commitment to it, there often aren't the resources for it. We also heard, though, that people have QI committees, and they do have sources of data that can be brought to bear on this. We still recognize, however, when we look at the percentages, that we're still talking about half of our organizations. So if there are things that you are struggling with in terms of capacity around QI, we understand this, you're not alone, and we're here to support this work. In terms of our offerings, we really have worked to kind of set up our offerings so that they are aligned with where people are at in terms of QI readiness. This is just a chart that talks about the stages of QI readiness that moves from exploration through to installation, implementation, and full adoption. And these are basically characteristics that are aligned with key elements that we know are really important in terms of implementation and sustainability around QI. Things that relate to culture, leadership, strategy, structure, resources, and skills. And so those in exploration, for example, interested in QI, but may not have a lot of the elements in place that can get them to a point of putting something on the ground and helping it move forward, and all points in between until you get to full adoption. I'm going to hand it over to Mike now because he's going to talk about how these stages of readiness really connect with the offerings that we have.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. So, keeping in mind those stages of QI readiness, we're offering through eQuip a series of different offerings to support folks no matter where they are on the stages of readiness. So I'm going to go into each one very specifically, but just as an overview, I thought this visual might be helpful for folks. This was created by Jenna here at CMHA, who's much more talented than I am with this stuff. And it kind of pulls it all together. So our main community for eQuip is going to live within our community of practice. And coming out of the community of practice, we're going to be offering access to the IDEAS program, which is a joint program through HQO and University of Toronto. So we're going to be offering like a modified version of that to the sector, and I'll talk about that in detail. We're going to be offering some leadership training as well as a series of webinars, which we'll talk about in detail as well. And probably one of the things you'll be most interested in as we talk about the different offerings is the coaching, both around quality improvement and using data for quality improvement. And that takes the form of agency coaching as well as project coaching for folks. So keeping in mind the stages of QI readiness that Sandra detailed, our specific offerings are targeted at folks at those different stages. So for folks in the exploration stage, we're really offering for you the most helpful resources would likely be the community of practice, what's called the IHI Open School, which I'll go into in detail, as well as our Introduction to Ideas, quality improvement training, high impact leadership training, and supportive QI webinars. For folks in the installation stage, all of those will apply, as well as the agency and project coaching. For folks in the implementation stage of QI readiness, all of our offerings will likely be applicable to you. And for the folks in the full adoption stage, making use of the community of practice would most likely be a benefit, and the peer support. So helping, hopefully, to leverage those folks who are in full adoption to help support other agencies who are not that far advanced with QI yet. So we're going to talk first about the online community of practice, and that's really where everything in eQuip is going to circle back to. And I want to really stress that it is a community, and it's going to be your community. A hub for quality improvement that's bringing together folks in the sector, across the sector, who are working on quality improvement. It's going to be based online and will be accessible to everybody who's interested in joining. And it'll be really a house for resources, peer and coaching, discussion forums, and ways to really share what you're doing with others and learn from each other. And I just wanted to share an example. When we were out doing the regional consults, we heard from folks quite often that when agencies are going through things like accreditation, it would be really helpful to have one place where you could go and talk to your peers and find out how other people navigated accreditation and access resources and discuss. So that's kind of how this all came to be, was through that input, and hopefully it's going to help serve that function. So to join the community of practice, it's very simple. We will have an agreement that folks will have to complete saying that they're interested in participating, and it has to be supported by your CEO or ED. And you must be a member of the community mental health and addiction sector to join. So not too many big asks. The information, the request forms, will be coming out in September when we launch the community of practice on September 1st, and we'll be inviting you to join at that time. The second offering that I wanted to detail is called the IHI Open School. And it's pretty cool. It's a self-directed learning platform through the Institute of Healthcare Improvement in the U.S. That you can have a membership to, and you can access resources, training modules. They have webinars, they have discussion forums, and a whole lot of resources that you can take back to your organization and help with training staff and that type of thing. So thanks to Health Quality Ontario, we're going to be getting some licenses for IHI Open School, and we'll be sharing that with you through our community of practice. And if you're interested, check out ihi.org. There's some free resources and videos on there, and it can give you a sense about what they have to offer. So to access this service, again, it'll be offered beginning in September as part of our community of practice. And we're promoting it especially for folks who are in the earlier stages of QI adoption. So folks in the exploration up to implementation stages. And we're hoping that in providing this resource, we're hoping that folks will share their progress and their learnings and in some of their experiences back with the community of practice, so that we can all learn together. The next offering that I want to detail is the Advanced Ideas program, which is a program offered through Health Quality Ontario and the University of Toronto. And I know it's on our list here, but it's actually not an E QIP offering. It's a Health Quality Ontario U of T offering, but we're happy to promote it and help people get access to that. So if you haven't heard of Ideas before, it is a program that runs for about 9 months. They offer both in-class and virtual learning opportunities and some coaching support to help folks who've identified a quality improvement project move that project forward. This year, I know they're really looking to get some interest from the community mental health and addiction sector, so they are making that a priority if you're interested in applying. And it's both Sandra and myself, if you are interested in the Ideas program, we can help you with your application and connect you to the right folks at HQO. But I would encourage you to check out the website there, the Ideas on Ontario website, and it'll give you lots more information about the program. I'm just going to pass it back to Sandra, and she's going to continue talking about the offerings.
So we've talked about our kind of access to resources and access to other types of support and training. We're now talking about one of our other types of offerings that relate to training and education. One of the things that we have a lot of members. We have a lot of folks doing a lot of things, and imagine if we were all kind of using similar language and similar models and similar approaches. That provides a lot of power and alignment for us as a sector in terms of looking at our work and looking at it through a QI lens. So that's really kind of the basis for the Introduction to Ideas offering. It really is how can we help our members and the sector as a whole have some common approaches and common language to QI. So we are really targeting our members of the community, collaborative community practice that Mike mentioned earlier, and really at any stage of readiness, although probably more suited for those at the earlier stages. Again, we're looking at providing local training, and one of the nice things in terms of working with HQO is being able to adapt the Introduction to Ideas to be very sector specific and really be tailored to examples and language that fits our needs. We'll be sending out a survey next week to follow up about this offering. It's just a very brief survey because we know there are a lot of surveys out there, but what we really want to know is get a sense from people about their appetite. We want to know what locations might be good, what timing might work for you, and who you might like to have attend. Right now the survey, however, is live and the link is open, the link that you see here in the slide. So you can go on and you can complete that. And we just want to highlight that this is really an important piece and a requirement for what will come next around the coaching. And it's free. Always a good sell point. The next piece that we will be offering is the high impact leadership training. The purpose really is to focus on our leaders and who are helping to lead improvement initiatives. We know from implementation work that leadership is really critical for putting on the ground and sustaining our QI work. So we want to, a big piece of this project is to support our leaders. So we're really focusing on our sector and organization leaders, so our senior managers, our EDs, our directors, and this is going to be a more targeted and deeper kind of look at leadership related to QI than was offered in March, so a deeper look at that, and really how do we support our leaders to engage in supporting QI and help move those initiatives forward. So we will be providing more detail around that in the fall, so please stay tuned. And finally, we have our training and education around supporting our QI webinar series. And so we're going to be offering a series of webinars, again, through our collaborative community of practice for those who are at any stage of readiness. And again, it's about looking at those key elements and providing an overview of QI, focusing on knowledge, practical examples, and tools. We will be having a calendar in our community of practice, so we will be sure to note all of these offerings and webinars in that calendar. So please join the collaborative community of practice so you can see what's coming up and get involved. And again, registering in the fall when that becomes available. So again, these educational offerings really are, although available to everyone, really are targeting those folks who are at stages of readiness that go from exploration to implementation, and folks who are working in QI or working on a QI project or who are planning it. And again, our leaders who are so critical to moving this work forward. And we again need you to be having a membership with our collaborative. And now Mike will talk more in detail about our coaching offerings.
Hey, thank you, Sandra. So this is probably, in my mind, one of the most exciting pieces that we get to offer to the sector, and that is coaching around quality improvement in data. So we know that this can be an area for folks of challenge, both in terms of getting the data that you need to do quality improvement work, and getting meaningful data, that's useful in planning QI, and also doing QI and leading QI. So we want to help coach to that. So for our coaching, we're actually going to be seconding folks from the field to be our coaches, both our QI and data coaches. This is both a professional development opportunity for our coaches, but also they're going to come to us with the knowledge of the field and what are the challenges and what's available. And they'll be returning at the end of the 6-month coaching period, returning back to the field with the knowledge that they gain. Our coaching is going to be targeting 30 organizations, and we want to get a real mix of both geography, size, and people from different parts of the sector. So, both mental health and addictions, and residential, and a whole mix. So we'll be targeting 30 agencies, and we'll be providing coaching around both projects and the organizational factors that are really necessary to support and sustain QI. So the projects, I'll talk about that very briefly. The projects that we're asking can be anything, both small, large, sort of your choice of what you think would be a quality improvement project that would benefit the clients and families that you serve. We'll be providing coaching to that project and help you walk you through from start to finish. How do you do a QI project? What are the things that are necessary and the different tools available? And working with your peers to try to advance that area of your choosing. The second piece of the coaching is around organizational coaching. So trying to support folks in building the pieces that are necessary to support and sustain and grow QI. So providing coaching around leadership, strategy and policy, structure. So how do we make QIs, how do we support it being easy and something that's part of the structure of how people work, in the organization. How do we involve clients in QI? And how do we communicate our QI both internally and externally, to our boards, but also to our external stakeholders, and the LINs. So we'll be coaching to those and a lot more pieces around sustaining QI. And of course, I don't want to leave out the data piece because that is absolutely critical. It was very eye-opening for us when we were doing our regional consults. We heard that across the agencies, there's over 120 different client information systems that people are using, which is a bit scary, really, when you think of it. So we want to try to provide some coaching and data support on how do we use those systems to pull out meaningful data that we can then use to inform QI. So to access the coaching support, we will be offering an application process, which will be beginning next week. Following this webinar next week, we're going to send out some follow-up resources as well as the applications and the links that we've mentioned. We would encourage folks to apply. No matter what stage of readiness you're at, we would encourage you to apply and reach out to talk to Sandra and myself if you're interested in the coaching, and we can help walk you through the application. But really, it's mostly targeted to folks who are at the installation or implementation stages of quality improvement, so who have some capacity and some background in QI. And the reason for this is, because this is a shorter-term pilot project, we have to, I guess, be realistic in terms of how far we can spread right now. So we will be targeting 30 individuals or 30 organizations for this round. So to apply, we're asking that folks be a member of the E QIP Collaborative and that you've completed or signed up to complete the Intro to Ideas training that we'll be offering in the fall that Sandra mentioned, and that you have an organizational commitment to quality improvement and that your leaders are on board with this. And an explanation about how your project, or how the project in HC Coaching will advance the organization's practices around QI and how it's going to benefit the clients that you serve. We'd also ask that folks who take part in the coaching are willing to share their progress and their experience as part of the community of practice so that others can learn from it. So this is a summary of the various offerings that we offer through E QIP. And a bit of a timeline. So you'll see that we're going to go full force starting in the fall, keeping in mind that E QIP is time limited. We do end in the summer of 2017. But want to really encourage you to think over the summer about which offerings may be applicable and suitable for you, and reach out to Sandra or myself if you could, and we're happy to talk more with you about them. So I'm going to pass it back to Sandra, who's going to give you sort of a summary and our next steps as we move forward.
Thanks, Mike. So in terms of next steps, I know that's a lot to take in. We've been busy because you've told us a lot. So we've been working on those things. Our offerings are listed here, and some key dates to keep in mind, as well as how you can access or apply for that information. In terms of the agency and project coaching, we talked about an application, but the application is a small application. It's fairly straightforward, and it's really just to be thinking through and giving us an idea of the kinds of things that you're thinking about and working on, and what things we might need to bring to bear to support that work. So please keep these dates in mind. As usual, you can connect with us and stay tuned with what we're doing, or stay informed about what we're doing. We released, I think, our first official newsletter last week, and hope that you have received it. If not, let us know. We're happy to connect you with the newsletter. We appreciated all of the information that we got from folks and our opportunity to visit around the province. And we will be looking to use the newsletter to continue to provide updates about not only what we're doing, but what you're doing in the field. Other ways to be informed or keep in touch with what's going on. Just a reminder that the CMHA National Conference is coming up, and that will be September 28th and 30th, I believe, Mike. And there will be a pre-conference workshop that we will be hosting related to quality and the work that's going on. So we would hope that you would join us and take part in that. And then our E QIP web pages, where we post our information and access to our webinars and other materials. And please contact us directly also. Please feel free, let us know what you're doing. We'd love to hear about your work. And now I think, unless there's anything else from your lens, Mike, we're open for questions.
I know we gave folks a whole lot to digest. You're probably going to want to take these slides away and review them. Feel free to contact us one-on-one, but I just want to offer a couple minutes for any questions if folks have them, because there's quite a bit there. And I'll just remind you too, to ask a question, go to the questions tab and type in your question, and we can see it on our screen here. So our first question that we have is, can you share a little bit more about this secondment you mentioned? Yeah, absolutely. So for our data and quality improvement coaches, we're hoping to second folks from the field who are going to come and be part of the E QIP team for a 6-month period. We're hoping to get folks from across the province too. So don't worry if you're not located in Toronto. We want our coaches to be spread out. This secondment could be a part-time or full-time basis, depending on how it fits with your location and current position. And it'll be helping to, as we talked about, support organizations both with the project and the quality improvement organizational coaching.
So in terms of the coaches, it's really imperative that we get as many coaches, as Mike said, from the field and from our member organizations. And one of the things that we really see as being critical is those coaches go back and become QI champions. And we also see this as an opportunity for professional development, because we know that resources are often rather tight, and that may not be an opportunity for our members. So there are some really critical pieces around the QI coaching that we think are incredibly important for increasing capacity in the field. Yes, the next question that we have is, would the slide deck be available for us to review? Absolutely. We will. You should be able to download it from our handout section that you will see to the right of your screen. If you go towards the bottom of kind of the tool screen, you should see handouts, and it should be available there. We'll also make them available on our websites.
We were also asked to go back one slide, so Crystal, who asked that question, hopefully I'm on the right slide and you can see what you need now. The next question was, will there be an application process for that? So I'm just wondering if you're referring to the secondment, because it's from the same person. Yeah, so when we were out doing our regional consultation, we met some folks in the field, some QI folks. So we do have some potential coaches in mind, and we're reaching out to organizations actually as we speak to explore the opportunities for secondments. The next question is there a limited number of organizational participants in this initiative? So no, I would say no, there isn't. Depending on which stream you're going for, whether it's one of the educational sessions, whether it's a community of practice, there really isn't an organizational limit. the training sessions may have a capacity. The community of practice does not. So no, there isn't, but it would be specific to the individual piece that you're applying for. The next question is, to apply for the coaching, would a group of agencies come together to apply for a project that is common to all of them? That's a good question. I know Sandra's just chomping at the bit to answer that, so I'm going to pass it over.
I'm not sure if I'm chomping at the bit, but I was very excited to see that question. I think that's a brilliant idea. I think one of the key pieces around our work is to be able to build capacity and to increase alignment. So if you're asking, can organizations come together and work on a common project, I think that would be a phenomenal idea that we would love to support, because it would be meeting a lot of the key pieces around the project. And more importantly, it sounds like it would be meeting a pretty important need that you have. And the fact that you already have a strong collaboration around something would be, I think, really critical for success of that kind of project. So that would be really cool, because that's such a technical word to use. But that would be great. And I'm not sure if there are any other questions that are out there.
And feel free, if you have questions, to contact us one-on-one. Both Sandra and my email address is on the slide deck and on our website, so please feel free to contact us and we can answer them individually. So again, I think we're going to wrap up because there doesn't seem to be any more questions, but thank you very much for taking the time to participate today. Oh, we do have a last-minute sneak-in question from Mary at HQO. Mary's just saying thank you, and she's excited. We're very excited too, Mary. Mary's our partner at HQO, so thank you very much. Anyway, thank you for taking part today. I appreciate your enthusiasm and interest, and I want to thank Alham here at CMHA Ontario for helping with the technical piece, because I tend to stumble on that. So thank you, Alham, and thank you to Jenna for helping us prepare for the day. Anyway, thanks again, folks. Talk to you all shortly.